I'm not trying to be shady by wearing this sweatshirt. It's just my favorite sweatshirt. It's cold, and it's the only thing I have Sex and the City wise that I want to wear. How you guys doing? I also have, I want you guys to know, all that. The original Sex and the City in a box set, in the pink box set. It's so nice, right? All the stuff. So I've seen every episode 8,000 times. I'm James Lott Jr., your host. When I bought this was like, when I came out, it was like $400. You can get cheaper now. But I have the whole Sin City, the whole series. So now it's time for a reboot. Everybody say reboot, folks? And just like that, there's a reboot. Lots of jokes for that one. I watched the first 2 episodes because they came out. I thought it was just episode 1, and I was in shock at episode 1. So spoiler. I'm going to tell spoilers. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But episode 2 was there. Like, oh, so he gave us the first 2 episodes, which makes sense. They kind of go in tandem together. And I thought, okay. I watched it. I almost forgot it was on. And I was like, oh yeah, it just premiered on HBO Max. So if you're looking for it, it's on HBO Max. And it's not under Sex and the City, it's under And Just Like That, a Sex and the City something. So I guess it's a reboot or a continuation story. I actually like this idea more than those movies. The first movie I loved. The second one I was like, that's some fun ones, but it was bad. But I kind of like this better than having a third movie. Because there was always talk for a third movie, and they decided not to do it. I felt if they could continue with what they started in the first series, which they were in their 30s and 40s, just to pick them up in their 50s, I thought, I mean, literally, if you have some good writing, it could completely just continue. It can go. This kind of show can go on to your 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, like it can go on. In my opinion, it's like it could go on, following these girls in their journey. And I'm in my 50s. I was in my 30s when they were in their 30s, and my 50s and their 50s. They're all so I'm their age group. So following them makes sense for me. It was very familiar, yet new. Both episodes were filmed gorgeously and beautifully. They mentioned the pandemic and COVID in certain cheeky ways with masking and stuff. Good seeing familiar faces return, some really surprising familiar faces return, and some shocks. So let's pick up kind of where each of these are. So let's start with Samantha. That's the one everybody's talking about. Kim Cattrall did not return, of course. She's returning to New Queer as Folk, another show. She's working. She's busy. I loved her in Filthy Rich. I'm really sad that didn't make it. Love that show on Fox. And that's another cliffhanger. Something was gonna happen. But Samantha, they hit it right in the very beginning. Samantha is in London. She is pissed because Carrie, again, these are all spoilers. Carrie didn't fire her from being her book publisher. Not book publisher, book PR person. So she got really pissed and left. Don't talk to any of the girls. I just thought this was so like Samantha wouldn't do that. I mean, they had explained Samantha's absence, but I felt like, for me personally, instead of shitting on Samantha, they could have actually just had her be happy somewhere. She's in London on tour. She hooked up with somebody who, wanted her services to be a PR person. She's touring the world. Have her send postcards every once in a while where she's from or something, or text her pictures. And like, we never see Samantha, but she's off screen. I felt like that should have been something, or anything else that would have been nice. But I felt like, is that a dig in there about shade? Was that some shade in there about she's angry at the girls, like in real life? And she didn't, and so she's like gone. Like, okay, sure. Charlotte, both her daughters are teenagers. They're great. Her one daughter is a piano prodigy. We'll talk about that in a second. Lily and Rose. Her and Harry is still great. Harry looks good. He looks good. He's still same old Harry, just kind of goofy and funny, and we love it. It's like comfort food seeing when they come on, you're like, oh, I love Harry. I love him. Charlotte's good. She's fighting aging. You can tell that on some level. But she's still Charlotte. And so that's kind of fun. And she's making friends with a Black woman. They call her, one girl called her Black Charlotte. Oh, those Anthony called her Black Charlotte. So there's a new chick in town. This show, very diverse. It's showing New York in all its shades and colors, finally. Which the original series didn't really do that as much. So it's kind of cool. So now they got a girl who I think's become the fourth one, probably. He's gonna kind of get her way in there. And so she's somebody that she looks up to, and she's Harry. Like she has a mother-in-law who's like a bitch and all that stuff. So like, okay, cute fashion sense. I like her. She's a fun character. She's fine, and she's good. So Charlotte's doing her thing now. And the dog's name was Richard Burton. Because you remember from the original series, the dog's name was Elizabeth Taylor. I thought that was a cute little Easter egg thing for us. Miranda, they have the original kid, Brady. He's back. It's the original person. It's the original kid. He's grown up with that red hair, that look. I was like, that's actually great. That he's still acting and he decided to come on. I love that they did that. I love that he's the original kid. I was like, oh my goodness, it's so funny. You get to see him. He's a sex fiend. I was confused. I thought he was an adult. Like I thought he was like over 18. I was trying to go backwards in time. But later on the second show, it's revealed he's 17. So I'm like, wait a minute. So you're allowing your kids to have sex at 17 in your house? It's just weird. I don't know. It was just like that's kind of weird a little bit. With the girlfriend, kind of weird. Steve has hearing loss. So it's like, what? That's kind of funny. But he looks great. It's good seeing they're still together. But it seems like they're not happy. I have some predictions about that. So Miranda has gray hair. There's a whole discussion about age, which is very Sex and the City. The discussion at the table when they were eating is very Sex and the City. It's very vintage. The girlfriends are talking. They're sharing a plate of fries. They're kind of talking mess to each other. They're talking about serious things like ageism. I thought it was really cool. Miranda's going back to school so you can be a social justice person to mix with their law school stuff. She has the most hilarious monologue as a crazy white lady. And it's hilarious. You have to see it. It's a scene that is I was cackling so loud when she was just, oh my goodness, she was so funny. She was so funny. But this said to me, very interesting natural progression for her because she's a law person and she wants to fight for people's rights. So I thought, okay, this makes sense to me. Now you're in your 50s and now you're like, I want to do something more. People from the 50s go back to school all the time. I went to school in my late 40s. It's a trip. People have it. My friend Dave just went to school in his 60s, 50s, early 60s. So people go back to school because you already established yourself in a career. Now you want something extra or you want something to mix it up with or change. That makes sense. So there's her. She's fine. Then Carrie, there we go. Okay, good. So Central Parker looks great. She fashionista as always. Now in the podcasting world, which makes total sense. For her, yes. And I love it. There's a scene with her and oh my God, I forgot her name. She used to be on Grey's Anatomy. I think Sarah Ramirez, I think her name is, who plays Che, who runs the podcast. I mean, they, I don't know what pronouns she uses in real life or I know on the show they're doing this whole thing. She's hot. It's hot. He's hot. They hot. Whatever the word is, hot. But hilarious about the whole podcasting and how Carrie as an OG, that she was literally back in the day writing a sex column in the 90s. I'm like, that's so funny to hear that. I'm like, oh my God, it's like in the 90s. And Carrie being like, I was never one about being open exhibition about sex. I was about writing it. That completely makes sense. That's not her. That wasn't her thing. Her thing was writing about sex in relation to other things. This is like they want to be outwardly sexual. That makes sense. That she's not having a problem with that. Her and Big are still together. They're a big, gorgeous house. Seeing Big was like comfort food. So it's like, and so we see everybody. They're all doing their thing. Everybody's doing their thing, and it's moving right along. I go, it all felt authentic for me, where they are. Episode 1. Oh, I almost forgot this. We also see Anthony, and we see Stanford, and so Willie Garcon has died. He's passed since, so it's so interesting to see him before he died. And I'm wondering if this was his last project. I think it was. I'm not sure. I was just like, oh, it's like, Stanford, Willie, great actor and just great character. And we got to see a lot of him in both the first 2 episodes. I have no idea if he made it through the whole filming or if he was on episode. I have no idea. But the first 2 episodes, he's prominently in them. And him, of course, Mario Cantone. They're the Bickersons. The old gay bitchy couple, of course. That bugs a little bit, but that's fine. I can handle that because they both are kind of wild. And Anthony makes me laugh. He always makes me laugh. So he makes the best comments. Makes me laugh. But it all culminates on episode 1 to this recital. Oh my God, the black couple and their son, the one that Charlotte's trying to become friends with. The father's like, did my soul just leave my body? When the kids started playing, and it was horrible, I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, oh my God. Everybody was just like, to me, that's what Sex and the City does best. There's those kind of moments, and they're all just kind of cringing and looking. And then when Lily comes on, it's amazing. But at the same time, Carrie is sitting there with everybody. Big is on a Peloton, with the chick a leg rose on the Peloton, and exercising. Now, what I thought was interesting was it was this whole juxtaposition. I can't get the word out. It was happening at the same time. They're going back and forth, trying to make a correlation. As Lee was doing this dramatic music, he was doing this dramatic riding the bike, the Peloton, and Carrie was touching her wedding ring. There's little bits, there were little bits like that in there. It's in the wedding ring, and I was kind of watching. Now, here's the part that we all kind of had a problem with. She gets home. He's laying there on the showers running. And it had been running we've been looking for a long time. I guess. And he is having a heart attack. Carrie doesn't call 911. It's this whole dramatic. I know what they're trying. This is very Sex and the City. They're trying. They stare at each other, and then she slides, and the wedding shoes get wet that she was wearing that day, symbolic, whatever life. They had a great dinner and dance the night before. Singing Hello It's Me, which is the title of the episode. Todd Rundgren's song, which I love that song too, actually, in the 70s. And she's holding him and he's like kind of just dying in her arms. And I was going, well, why wouldn't you call 911 first? At least make the gesture. Like, to me, that was a weird misstep. But I think they were going for this sweeping, dramatic ending of them. So I kind of get what they were doing, but I think it just felt weird for me. But he died. As she says, and just like that, Big died. And it goes to black. I was in shock. They killed Big? Like, really? And what's cute, and in a separate episode, she says at the end of every episode, apparently, and just like that, and she kind of says something that encapsulates the episode or something. So I think, okay, that's kind of cute. I like that at the end. I kind of like that. Because in the beginning, remember, it was always her typing on a computer and blah, and I explained the episode. So at the end, and just like that, I learned what 5 hours was. Whatever. So it's just something that I like that dramatic end, but they killed Big. They killed Big. I don't even know how I feel about that. They've made Carrie a widower. A widow. I think I'm still processing it. I don't know if it's the right move or not right. I don't know. I just said it was such they fought so hard to be together, and then they decided to kill somebody off. I don't know. I don't know if I'm angry or not angry. I don't know. I'm just like, I was just shocked. And then episode 2 is a funeral. They're playing at a funeral. The funeral, Charlotte, of course, is extraordinary, over the top, of course. Miranda's there, of course, as always, like when Carrie's there for Miranda's mom. I think about my Motherboard Myself episode where Miranda's mom dies unexpectedly and Carrie's there and Charlotte, they're all there, something like them. But John James Preston was laid to rest. It's cute, artsy fashion, of course. It was beautiful, kind of art place, kind of place. There was a whole thing of flowers. And Carrie said, no flowers. They were from Samantha. And she texted Larry saying thank you. I think so. I mean, after I just said the first episode, they kind of shat on her. But I think in the second episode, they're trying to, maybe they're redeeming it to get to a point where they're just kind of texting friends, maybe. I was like, yeah, don't just screw. I mean, Samantha is a big part of the show, was a big part of the show. At least preserve her memory somewhere. I mean, I don't know. That's just how I feel about that. But the whole episode, everybody got closer. Their family, we saw each of the families just be close because it was a sad episode. Then there's that Susan Sharon. I love that actress. I don't know her name. She was hilarious. She was there. I was like, oh my goodness, you were there. Oh my goodness. And she was, do you remember? She's like, everybody wants to remember what a Dixie, what a dick he was or whatever. I'm like, that's right. She was a part of the whole thing. And when she saw Carrie, oh my God, I was like, Susan Sharon. That's a character from the past. But she looked great. The actress looked great. It was good to see her. But it was about everybody just coming together for her and stuff. And she got the ashes and everything. So now literally he's gone. So I guess we'll see what's next. I mean, it's like that's a whole new thing for Carrie. She said in one of the episodes, "What do I do now?" Maybe the second episode, "What do I do now?" So we're interesting to see where she goes. I guess now it's her journey as a widow. And my prediction, since in real life, Cynthia Nixon is a lesbian. She was straight when she was doing the show, and she was in a straight relationship, I should say. I think her and the Che person are going to be getting closer. After the meet cute, which was the confrontation when Che was sharing a weed with 17-year-old her kid, Brady. Then she apologized and started laughing and talking. And I'm like, what are we gonna make me rant? Because they said you showed a future episode kind of scene where she's like, Mia, what are you doing? We're just like roommates now sharing ice cream, nothing else. And I'm like, is she gonna go that direction? I don't know. But I liked it. I know a lot of folks hated it, didn't like it. For me, I would open arms, as my friend Tony Moore would say, I'm going to see it and watch the whole season, of course, HBO Max, see where it goes, and maybe do a final judgment at the end. If I go, well, is this worth it or not? Right now, I give it a B plus. I think it has lots of possibilities. The new characters are really fun. They're of color. Miranda's teacher is a Black woman. You got Charlotte's new friend who's Black, and that whole family. Yeah, I just think that this could be an opportunity to show New York, because New York's the fifth lady, right? So show New York in its new ways and how it is. And I thought it was fine. I guess I get a B plus. I'll say my thing's a B plus for the first 2 episodes. Killing Big, I'm still trying to decide that. And a little shadiness with Samantha. Those are 2 things I was going, no. You didn't call 911. Well, now I'm excited to see the rest of it. If you're new to this, welcome. I do after shows. I do opinion television. I do interviews. JLJ Media is everywhere. This is going to be an only video. I was going to do audio and video. I'm like, nah, this is just a video show. So come here to JLJ Media and subscribe while you're down here so you get notifications when it comes out. I'm going to try to watch it every week as it comes out. And whatever episodes are there, I'm going to watch them and then I'll talk about them. And you can talk about you. Tell me how you feel. Tell me what you think about the show. I'm very curious. And if anybody wants to come on and talk about it with me, an episode, sure, come on, let's talk about it. Come on the show and join me. We'll talk about it. I'll set you up. But I'm going to watch it and see what happens. I'm James Lott Jr. You can follow me, James Lott Jr. everywhere. We'll see you next time.